I walked in from a 10-hour day, and she hit me with it before my shoes were off. Emily says you barely give me any time. Jess agrees. They think I'm settling. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door. Good. Then tell your committee I'm the guy who pays for their daily consultations about the bad husband. That's not funny. Wasn't trying to be. I work. That's the time they want. She folded her arms, leaning on the island like a judge. You don't hear me. I hear you fine, I told her, hanging my jacket. But I'm not debating 3 women who aren't here. I'm taking a shower and going to bed. I'm up at 5. We're not done. I am, I said, and headed down the hall. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have grabbed more than a towel. In the morning, she lounged on the couch scrolling, hair up, robe tied so tight it looked like a decision. The TV murmured some lifestyle show. I packed my lunch, rinsed my coffee cup. She didn't look up. Morning, I said. A pause. Emily and Jess were right, she said to her phone. He just does his own thing. Yeah, I answered, zipping my work bag. My own thing keeps the lights on. She finally met my eyes. You know, normal husbands plan. They take their wives out. They don't hide in the garage. I don't hide. I decompress. There's a difference. You always have an answer, she muttered. I always have a schedule. Big difference again. I slid my boots on. This Friday, I was thinking steak tacos at Tony's. You like that place? After, maybe a movie. I'll handle the reservation. Friday, she scoffed. Girls' night. We planned it already. Right? The weekly board meeting. I set my cup down. Fine. Saturday then. She smirked. I'll let you know. That told me enough. I picked up my bag. Here's the deal. I'm not sitting around waiting for the committee to approve my time. I'm booking my own. Starting now, I'm on the early shift at the shop Monday to Thursday, gym at 6, home by 8. Fridays I'm over at the garage helping Rick with the rebuild. Saturdays I'll be fishing or grabbing breakfast with Mike. Sunday mornings yard work. If you want a window, put it on the calendar by Wednesday. She blinked. Excuse me. You want grown-up time? Book it like grown-ups. I checked the wall calendar, took the dry erase marker, and blocked out the next 2 weeks in neat rectangles. No gray areas. No we'll see. That's controlling. It's clarity. I capped the marker. Clarity beats drama. You can't just. I just did, I said, and opened the door. She shot back. Emily says you use work to avoid being a partner. Then Emily can Venmo you for her consultation fee. I replied and left. By lunch, my phone buzzed. A text from her. If you're serious about Saturday, cancel the garage Friday. We'll go to that wine place with the girls. I called instead of typing. Why would I plan a date with your friends? They want to get to know you. They've known me for years. They think you're closed off. Then they can think from somewhere else, I said. Our dates are not group therapy. Friday stands. So you won't compromise. I just offered Saturday. That's the compromise. She hung up without a goodbye. I stared at the phone, shrugged, and went back to my sandwich. At 5, I drove home with the quiet certainty that I'd forced a new rule into a house that loved fog. It felt like stepping into fresh air. At 7:30, she stuck her head into the garage while I torqued a bolt on the bench vise. Emily and Jess are coming by Friday regardless, she announced. Just 20 minutes. They want to clear the air. No, I answered, not looking up. My house isn't a courtroom. You can't say no to my friends. I can say no to anyone in my doorway. It's still my doorway. We'll see, she said and left. So that was the hook. Let's call it what it was, a test. And like most tests, it told me everything about what would come next. Thursday night, she floated in late. Hair done. Perfume I paid for clouding up the hallway. I was on the couch with the game muted, answering emails. She stood behind the couch. You didn't call. I wasn't asked to, I said. She moved around, perched on the armrest. I talked to Emily. She says I'm letting you walk all over me, and I don't want that. But I also don't want us to fight. I don't either, I said, eyes still on the inbox. She reached out and straightened the collar of my t-shirt. What if we do brunch Saturday? Just us. My treat. I booked the place near the river. That was new, an actual plan, then a light touch, then a softened voice. A pivot. I studied her face. No edge, no smirk. It felt almost like we used to be. Okay, I said. I'm in. 10. 10. She smiled, quick, like she'd scored a point. And I was hard on you. I'm sorry. I nodded. Thanks. She slid off the armrest, squeezed my shoulder, and went to the bedroom humming. The scent hung in the room like a promise. For a second, I let myself believe the temperature might be changing. I woke up early Friday, made coffee, and moved money. Call it a hunch. I split the checking account into two. My direct deposit rerouted to a new one with my name only. The old account kept enough to cover the house and her card for 30 days. I left a note in my budget app, review access Sunday. Clarity beats drama. I also pulled the spare set of keys off the hook and put them in the small safe in the closet. Logistics isn't romance, but it's the opposite of helplessness. At 10 on Saturday, we sat by the window overlooking the river. She wore a sundress, hair down, that easy smile she used when she wanted the server's attention. Mimosas, pancakes, small talk. This is nice, she said, twirling her straw. It is, I admitted. I know I've been distant, she went on. Emily gets in my head, and Jess too, and I. Her phone lit up. She read, typed, read again. Want to put that away? I asked, not unkindly. It's just the girls, she said. They're excited for later. Later. They might swing by, she said, casual, eyes still on the screen. Just to say hey. We're not doing that, I told her. She looked up, smile tightened. You just can't stand them. I can't stand any third party that inserts itself into my marriage. We're not in a trial, she snapped. Then stop calling witnesses. She rolled her eyes. Everything is a line with you. Lines keep shape, I said. I signaled for the check. I'm heading out. I've got things to do before the guys come over tonight. What guys? Mike, Rick, a few others. Backyard, burgers. You're welcome to join or not. But we're not hosting your panel. She sat back, folded into displeasure. It's weird you suddenly have friends coming. You never do that. That changes now, I said, cash on the table. New rules. Less fog. So you're doing this to prove something? No, I answered, standing. I'm doing it to stop proving anything. Her phone buzzed again. Her lips twitched at whatever she read. I watched the play of it and felt the Sunday morning I thought we might have had slide off the table with the bill. When I got home, I cleaned the grill, set chairs, and iced down drinks. At 6, the doorbell rang. I opened it expecting Mike's sarcastic face. It was Emily, then Jess shoulder to shoulder behind her like bouncers, my wife tucked in their slipstream. Hi, Emily sang. We need to talk. No, I said. Jess lifted a brow. It'll take 5 minutes. 0 minutes, I replied. My wife edged forward. Don't be dramatic. We can be adults. Great idea, I said. Adults call ahead and get invited. Emily looked past me into the living room. So this is where you disappear. This is where I live, I said. We came because we love her, Jess shot, and we hate seeing her with a man who. Stop, I cut in. You're not welcome. We're here for her. Emily tried again. Not for you. Then my wife landed the planned punch. Can you take 5 and talk to me? Alone. I stepped back, gestured toward the hallway. Sure. 5 minutes. She smirked, all teeth. You're not worth my time. There it was. The line that puts a crack in a wall you can't patch. I nodded once. Then I'm not wasting mine on you, I said. Ladies, out. You can't throw us out, Emily chirped. Watch me, I answered, stepping aside and pointing at the driveway. Now, Jess scoffed. You're overreacting. You're trespassing, I said. Pick your verb. My wife laughed like I was a clown at a kid's party. You're not serious. I held the door open. Shoes, please. The floor's clean. Emily gaped. We're not. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't lecture. I just stared at each of them in turn, steady, the way I look at a stripped bolt before I back it out. After a beat, Jess flinched first and tugged Emily's sleeve. They moved, muttering. My wife lingered, amazed that I hadn't broken into apology at the right cue. Go pack, I said quietly to her as they stepped onto the porch. Grab what you need for a week. You're leaving tonight. She laughed harder. You think I'll run to my car and cry? You'll be at my door at sunrise. Pack, I repeated. She stuck a finger in my face. You don't get to order me around. I'm not ordering, I said. I'm selecting the conditions I live in. Emily spun around. He can't do this. He just did, I said, and closed the door. Through the glass, I watched them huddle, whisper, exaggerate. My wife glanced back at the door like it might apologize. It didn't. She came back in without knocking. You're ridiculous. Bedroom, I said. Suitcase. 10 minutes. You don't scare me. Not trying to. I'm being clear. She crossed her arms. And if I don't? I pulled my phone out, hit a number. Mike answered on the second ring. You need anything? Change of plans, I said, eyes on her. Girls' night try to hijack my house. I'm resetting things. Want us there? Not yet. 30 minutes. Got it. I hung up. She watched me with that amused contempt that only grows in a vacuum of consequences. I nodded toward the hall. 10 minutes. She disappeared, still giggling to herself. I walked to the office, sat at the desk, and opened my banking app. 2 taps, and her card on the joint account paused. Next, I scheduled a locksmith for the morning. Then I updated the smart lock code myself and killed the guest code we'd once given Emily, just in case. Finally, I opened an email to HR. Change direct deposit, effective immediately. It was what it was, plumbing. She wheeled a suitcase out 5 minutes later. She made a show of it. You'll call tomorrow. I held the front door. You're not worth my time, I said, returning her own sentence without heat. Drive safe. She stepped onto the porch, glanced at Emily's car idling at the curb, and laughed again. You don't stick to anything. You're soft. That was the old script, I said, and shut the door behind her. A second later came the theatrical door slam from the other side, as she pulled it closed with drama for the audience. The lock clicked. The house exhaled. I called Mike back. Come over. Bring the grill basket. We're celebrating. For what? Clarity, I said. I filed for divorce Monday morning on my way to the shop. I didn't announce it, didn't dramatize it. I just parked, walked in, and filled out papers with a clerk who looked like she'd seen far worse. It felt like getting a tire rotation, unglamorous, necessary, overdue. After work, I swung by the parts store. Mike met me in the lot. He's barrel-chested and loud, the kind of friend who says something brutally simple when you need it, then shuts up. You sure? He asked, leaning on my tailgate. I'm done, I told him. I kept working like that alone would carry both of us. Turns out lifting doesn't help a man who's busy kicking the ladder. He barked a laugh. That's one way to put it. Tonight at my place, I added. Burgers. You. Rick, maybe Dana from the office if she can deal with us. Music low, nothing fancy. Celebration? Call it a reset. He slapped the bed of my truck. Finally, Dana heard us through the open door. She's sharp, 3 kids, a schedule tattooed under her eyelids. You look lighter, she said later in the break room. Locks changed. Cards paused. I told her. Paperwork in. Good, she said, rinsing her mug. Quiet is underrated. On the way home, I stopped at the hardware store, bought new deadbolts, and grabbed a cheap cooler. The locksmith texted he was delayed until morning. Fine. I swapped out what I could myself, then double-checked the windows. I turned the guest room into a staging area. Anything of hers that was obviously hers went into boxes. Neatly, not thrown. No pettiness. Just order. By 7, the backyard was humming. Mike flipped burgers and told a story about a coworker who tried to paint a trunk with house paint. Rick discussed a carb rebuild. Dana arrived with a salad and that dry way she has of shooting down nonsense. They asked how I was. I said, steady, and meant it. Halfway through my second burger, the door rattled like someone was trying to knock it off the hinges. The backyard went quiet except for the bug zapper. I set down my plate, wiped my hands, and walked through the kitchen. The pounding continued. I opened the door. She stood there in leggings and a sweatshirt, hair pulled back, face tight with anger she thought would carry her through. Emily's car idled at the curb again like a getaway driver with poor timing. Why did you block my cards? She yelled. You're not worth my cards, I answered. You're not worth my time. You're not even worth the paper you're going to sign when this ends. Her eyes widened. You filed. I smiled. Of course. Did you think you'd wander off for a few days, laugh at my door, and stroll back when the attention got boring? Keep dreaming. You're overreacting. No, I said. I'm correcting. You can't just take my access. I can absolutely separate finances when respect is gone, I replied. It's adult life, not a group project. I need my things. They're boxed. Text me 3-time windows next week. I'll pick one. You come with one person. 20 minutes. You can't control me. I'm not trying to. I'm controlling my house. You're cruel. I'm calm, I said and closed the door. The pounding started again, along with a spray of dramatic sentences through the door I didn't need to keep. I walked back to the yard. The table fell silent as I approached, then eruptions of "good line" and "about time," and Mike raised his beer like a toast. "I don't need a parade," I said. "Not a parade," Dana replied. "Just a nod for getting off the hamster wheel." The night returned to normal. I could hear a muffled rant on the front steps tapering off, then tires, then quiet. I flipped one more burger for the dog next door because he'd been patient. By morning, she'd switched tactics. A long text. "You embarrassed me. People will talk. You always wanted control." I didn't reply. At lunch, a voicemail, soft voice, saying she missed the way I made Sunday eggs. I didn't answer. By evening, a photo of an old memory, a comment about the joke I made that day, a string of heart emojis. I put my phone face down and tightened a bolt on the mower handle. That was illusion number 2. It had the right costumes, warmth, nostalgia, a breadcrumb of softness. But it arrived only after the locks changed. 2 days later, rumors started. Emily accidentally bumped into Dana at the grocery store and let slip that I was impossible, selfish, cold. A buddy texted that he'd heard I was controlling. I didn't chase any of it. People who wanted to check the facts knew my door was open and my sentences were short. At the shop, an older guy named Paul patted my shoulder, a man who'd been married twice and didn't recommend it to strangers. "You can fight lies," he said, "or you can live in a way that makes them look stupid." "I'll take option 2, I told him. Smart. 2 weeks went by. The boxes sat untouched in the guest room. The locks were second nature now. The mailbox, once full of coupon books we'd never use, held a letter I never thought I'd enjoy. A formal step that said the state agreed we were unwinding what we'd wound. Day 14 at exactly 9 p.m., my phone lit up with her name. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text. "I'm outside. Please, just 5 minutes. I miss you. I'm sorry." I stepped onto the porch. She stood on the sidewalk, hands clutched around her phone like a microphone. "Just 5 minutes," she repeated. "Sorry," I said, even tone. "No time for you." She swallowed, nodded like she understood the sentence but not the world it lived in, and walked back to her friend's car. I blocked her number. Then I stood there for a second under the porch light, not triumphant, not numb, just finished with a language I no longer needed to speak. The divorce wrapped quicker than I expected because adults worked the process. She got a slice of savings and one of the cars. I didn't argue. I wanted clean lines. I kept the house, the garage, the tools, the dog. I kept my mornings and my quiet. I didn't throw a party. I just invited people over again the next weekend, like a man who lives his life rather than waits for it to be graded. "It's weird seeing you smile," Rick said, opening a bag of chips. "I'm out of a job I didn't sign up for," I told him. "Feels good. You didn't take a bath in the settlement?" "I paid a fair price for my time back," I said. "That's a good trade." He nodded, because any man who has ever paid for a tool he truly needed understands that sentence. My day stacked up differently. I woke at 5 without the dread of where we might be by 10. I fixed small things, the crooked cabinet door, the loose railing, the simple stuff you overlook when your house becomes a courtroom. On Wednesdays, I met Mike at the range with paper targets and slow breaths. On Fridays, I kept my garage night with Rick. We coaxed life out of an engine that had been still too long. Saturdays, I had breakfast at a small place by the highway with a waitress who called everyone Han and didn't mean anything except speed and hot coffee. I paid at the counter, left cash, nodded at the regulars. She tried a last trick through mutual friends, a comment about how she was doing better, then a backhand about how I'd always struggled to be warm. I didn't counter. People who mattered had watched me for years and saw me now without the shadow of 3 extra voices echoing in our living room. One evening I was changing oil and heard footsteps. I looked up. Dana stood in the doorway of the garage with a to-go container in each hand. "Leftovers," she said. "If your fridge is full of parts again. Top shelf is free," I told her, setting down the wrench. "You can't say no to meatloaf." "I'd never dare," she replied, smiling. "How's the quiet?" "Delicious," I said. "You handled it clean," she added, setting the containers on the workbench. "Most men either crawl or explode. You didn't either." "I learned the trick," I said. "What's that?" "Stop solving a problem that exists only because someone keeps making it." She considered that, then laughed once. Put it on a t-shirt. No brands. True. We ate on the tailgate. No theater, no speeches. She told me about her kid's science project. I told her about a carb that refused to cooperate. The sun went down on time. The dog barked at a squirrel wearing arrogance. The world didn't ask for my opinions on my own house. It was just a Tuesday. A month later, I signed the last paper and slid it back across a laminated counter. The clerk stamped something and said, "Congratulations," like a joke. I said, "Thanks," and meant it. That night, I had people over. Same backyard. Same grill. Someone brought a guitar and plucked a few soft chords. No speeches, no toasts. Just conversation. Halfway through, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't know. I let it go. A minute later, a text from an unknown. "I heard you're free. If you ever want to talk." An old co-worker's name signed under it. I smiled, not for what it could be, but for the fact that my time finally belonged to me. "You good?" Mike asked, handing me a plate. "I'm better than good," I said. "I'm boring." "Best kind of good," he grinned. Before bed, I walked the house. Front door locked. Back slider latched. Tools on the pegboard. Dog on his bed, breathing like a small engine. I looked at the boxes in the guest room. Her stuff still there, scheduled for pickup that never came. Then finally collected by a moving service she hired without telling me. Clean lines. Weeks turned into a new normal. My paycheck landed in the account no one criticized. I upgraded the old truck shocks. I took a drive with no destination and brought back nothing except a picture of a lake I'd seen 100 times before, but respected now that nobody would tell me how I should feel about it. I bought a simple chair for the corner of the living room where I like to read. I didn't ask permission to do either. When people asked me what happened, I told them the same small story. A marriage needs two hands on the same rope. I was hauling. She was polling her friends on whether the rope was her color. I let go. There were echoes, of course. Emily posted a long paragraph somewhere for her audience about toxic stoicism and men who weaponize boundaries. Dana sent me a screenshot. I didn't read it. Mike made a joke about dictionary words you only use when you're wrong. We laughed, moved on. I saw my ex exactly twice. First at the storage unit when she finally collected the last boxes. She arrived late with a friend from Pilates, gave me a glance calibrated to ask for a scene, then realized I had nothing to perform. I signed a receipt, handed her a small gift bag with a couple of things I found after. The cookbook she liked, the weird little succulent pot shaped like a cat. She said thanks in a voice that wanted a fight. I said, "You're welcome," and left. Second, months later, outside the grocery store. She looked like most people do at 6 p.m. on a weekday. Tired, not special, human. She opened her mouth like she might test a sentence. I nodded and kept walking. She didn't follow. That's not a triumph. It's just a simple thing that used to feel like a miracle. I met someone the usual, boring way, through friends, at a barbecue where nobody planned to fix anyone. Her name's Hannah. She's steady. She doesn't need an audience to make a choice. On our third date, we got flatbreads from a place near the highway and ate them on the hood of her car, looking at nothing. At one point, she asked, "What's your favorite part of your week?" "Saturday morning," I said. "Coffee. A list. No noise." "That's low maintenance," she smiled. "It used to be expensive," I said. "We don't talk about the past much." She knows I have lines, because I show them instead of explain them. She laughs at my sarcasm because she hears the joke and the edge and doesn't take either personally. She has her own life, which means I don't have to supply one for both of us. People love a movie scene where someone burns everything down. That's not how it went. I didn't flip a table. I didn't preach. I didn't fight the rumor mill with my own. I reset access. I set rules. I acted like the person responsible for my name on the mortgage. When she tried soft, I noticed. When she tried loud, I didn't. When she tried 5 minutes, I gave her 0. I don't hate her. That would spend energy in the old direction. I just don't hire her for any role in my life anymore. That's all a boundary is, hiring and firing. If there's a lesson, it's this. In a house full of echo, grab a wrench. Tighten what's loose. Replace what can't be tightened. Put the tool back where it belongs. If someone laughs while you do it, you don't debate the laugh. You finish the job. The night I shut the door on her tantrum, the backyard applauded. That felt good. But the real win wasn't the line I delivered. It was the morning after, When the house was quiet and the coffee tasted like coffee and nobody's opinion arrived via group chat before I'd opened my eyes. So when a man asks me now what I'd do different, I tell him the truth. I earned the expensive way. I'd stop arguing with a jury that never liked me. I'd set the schedule. I'd separate the money. I'd leave the door unlocked for friends who actually knock. And when someone says, "You're not worth my time," I'd agree, politely, then give them exactly what they asked for. Meanwhile, the truck runs clean, the garage smells like oil and sawdust, and the dog thinks I hung the moon because I feed him at the same minute every day. I've got a key that fits the only locks I need to open. The rest of me is busy living. As for her, I hear she moved into a smaller place across town with paper-thin walls and a neighbor who plays the drums badly. She still posts quotes about empowerment and throws in a few about healing from cold partners. Maybe that's her story. It's not mine. Mine fits on a note in the fridge. Respect first, then the rest. Everything else, I don't have time for.